Sorry, man. I just got out of work right now. I'm like fumbling around.
Oh, good, man. What do you do for work?
I change oil all day. Like I work at a oil change place
Like
called Valvoline Instant Oil Change, and I just work on cars basically. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
It's a good gig to pay the bills, you know. YouTube isn't so
Of course.
so generous.
Lucrative? No. No.
Well, dude, it's so cool to fucking finally talk to you. Like, I've been such a big fan for so long. Like, I've watched almost every single video. Learned a lot.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Definitely. So yeah, I feel like a fan. First off, and thank you for talking with me and doing this for me.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Course.
Likewise, I appreciate your videos as well, man. You make some pretty cool stuff.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Oh, this coffee's horrible. It's like all cold and
Oh, that's the worst.
Anyways.
All right. So basically, what I figured we could do is just chill. I have a few questions that I want to know, just because, like I said, I watch your videos and stuff like that. But and we'll just see where it goes. I wanted to be super relaxed. I might even smoke some cannabis, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm on a 30-day cannabis fast at the moment.
Really? Is there any reason?
Sucks.
Any reason behind that?
Me and my girlfriend were just smoking way too much, and my head was just getting way too clouded and hazy, and my energy levels just being crap. So I'm like, I kind of need a bit of a tolerance break. So
30 days.
Yeah. So well, what are we? 8 days in.
How you feeling?
Yep.
How you feeling? Like nothing.
Shit.
Just complaining about coffee, you know?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah, it's all right. Like, I like the first 2 days were definitely the most challenging for sure. Like, very irritable, going like through withdrawals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's easier now. But yeah, it's,
Yeah.
It's only been 8 days.
True.
Pot stays in your system for quite a while,
You
actually.
still got those cannabinoids in your lungs holding on.
In my fat.
In your fat cells, yeah.
My fat cells, yeah. I think. I hear that fasting would be a good way to get rid of it quicker.
That makes sense. Maybe sweating, like working out and stuff like that.
Yeah, but then when you quit weed, it's like you have all these cravings. So if anything, I've been eating more food. So.
Wow, really? You've been eating more now?
Yeah.
Not smoking. You're
Yeah. Nah,
That's
for
crazy.
more. Yeah, definitely been eating more. But I've been working out more, so
that makes sense then.
balance it out. Yeah.
And I've smoked since I was 17, so I didn't smoke weed or drink alcohol or anything until like late 17. So
Really?
Yeah. So all through high school, I was like super straight edge. Like I used to even like talk shit about people who would smoke weed and drink alcohol. Like, oh, they need to do that to have fun, and I was one of those kids. And but since then,
Yeah, I got that a lot.
yeah, and since then, I've taken a couple tolerance breaks, but the longest I've gone is 7 days, and but yeah, and in that 7 days, I've noticed that like, it definitely, you can feel a huge difference in just like, in how alert you are, just see right now I can't come up with the words, just being a more articulate, things like that. So it definitely helps. And occasionally I'll take like, not even occasionally, like pretty often I won't smoke for like a day, couple days, so it does help taking breaks.
Mini breaks.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you from? The US, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Southern California. So I grew up.
You lucky motherfucker! So you're getting good.
Yeah.
We have the worst. We have like one of the worst strains of weed in the world. It's horrible. Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's really bad.
That was like literally one of the questions I wrote down: is how's the weed in Australia?
Oh, we can talk about that. Yeah.
Well,
it's not good.
Really, dude, what I'm really interested in is how you got into making YouTube videos, because from what I understand or what I've seen, I don't think you haven't been doing it like too long, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I started my YouTube channel March 2015, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
you got
maybe
some time.
about over 3 years, just over 3 years. Yeah.
What made you start like getting into YouTube? Did you watch YouTube videos, or how'd you get into it, actually making a channel?
I was definitely always into YouTube video, and it's funny, I don't think many people know this, but my very first YouTube channel was like a a metal guitar cover channel where basically I just basically I was just covering like Metallica songs, Trivium songs, and that's what I was into.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. But what made me start? It basically started with watching the Joe Rogan Experience, as I'm sure many people do, and then I saw guests like Aubrey Marcus and Graham Hancock and all these guys, and they started talking about this ayahuasca. I was like, what? It just piqued my interest for whatever reason, and it just called out to me, and eventually I just went to Peru, had a life-changing experience. It was fucking terrifying, but it was very beautiful at the same time. I learned a lot about myself, and I just felt the need to kind of just speak about this because not many people were talking about it. It's not like these days how there's like a million YouTube channels talking about ayahuasca. This was like when not many people were talking about it.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of frustration of like, why is everyone hiding behind this mask?
Yeah.
Especially talking to people who have had positive experiences with ayahuasca, but they don't talk about it because they're afraid of what their peers think, what their family think.
Yeah. I hear you.
And so, I just wanted to kind of lead the way and just reduce the social stigma behind it. So that was my original intent of starting the channel. And then, rest is history, I suppose. Like my intentions have changed over time for sure, but that was my original intention.
So did you, because you recorded a lot of that, that was one of your documentaries, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the second time I went back to Peru. The first time I didn't, I didn't document any of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I went by myself as well, because the second time I returned with my girlfriend.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The first time I went by myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting to me, even that you bring up like going on an ayahuasca trip with your girlfriend. That is just insane to me because I'm married. I've been married for over 2 years now, but we've also been off and on together since 7th grade. So. I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had a long history. I love her to death. We have a really good relationship, but she doesn't even smoke weed. She doesn't, ever taken psychedelics. She's done ecstasy a couple times, but totally just not her thing. So to even just to see that you and your girlfriend were tripping on ayahuasca together, and like I think I saw another one where she took acid or something like that, and it was just insane to me just to see you guys tripping together. Like, go into that if you can. Like, talk about that. Like, how much of a thing is that?
Yeah, it is weird because my girlfriend is, before we started dating, she was not even, like, she smoked weed like 3 times in her life. And then she, started dating me, and I was a horrible influence on her. And that's that I didn't even smoke weed when we first started dating. But then I've had a on and off relationship with Mary Jane throughout my life. A bit of a love-hate relationship there. But she was never into weed. She was definitely never into psychedelics or anything like that. Just alcohol, basically. And her first psychedelic experience, I documented, actually. It's not on my channel anymore, but it was her first mushroom experience.
Oh, okay.
And I was a bit pushy at the start because, like, I don't know, when I first got into psychedelics, I had like this psychedelic a warrior mentality of like everyone should do psychedelics, and I was kind of pushing it towards her, being a bit of a dick about it, and then eventually I won her over. But she's very grounded in who she is, so she's like, no, I'm gonna do it when I want to fucking do it. She's a Latina woman. You know how they are. So
I got you. I got one of those myself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So they're very strong and independent. They're like, hey, I ain't gonna listen to no man. I'm gonna do it if I want to do it. Kind of thing.
I feel you.
Yeah. So then eventually she had her first mushroom experience, and it was a very positive experience. Had amazing revelations and all that kind of stuff, and that's pretty much how it started. And even then, she hasn't even done psychedelics that much. It's maybe like less than a handful of times, really. Wow. She had her first mushroom experience, and then I think it was like a year or something until she had her second mushroom experience. Wow. And then that's it.
That's cool.
And then apart from that, she had, she went with me to the ayahuasca retreat, had a few ceremonies, and then had a couple San Pedro ceremonies, but that didn't actually affect her at all. Which is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Like nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I had like one dose. I was like 50-second dimension, and she was like nothing. And she had to have the second dose and everything. But yeah, I guess that's how it started. So yeah,
that's actually just like watching your videos. Obviously, kind of seeing where you're at now, knowing where I'm at now. I think that less than a handful of psychedelic experiences might actually be a good number. Like, it might not be where you want to be over 10, 15, 20 psychedelic experiences, because, you know, as you've talked about, like, it kind of tends to, I don't know, it's a very deep and like, you know, complex topic, but it kind of, you know, I don't want, like, loses its sparkle kind of. You lose the importance of it. You learn the lessons, like, you forget the lessons. I mean, you know, you tend to, you know, I don't know. I found myself getting super involved, like you said, this warrior psychedelic mentality. I found myself absolutely thrown into that for years. And, you know, it took a lot of bad trips for me to finally be like, okay, now I'm taking advantage.
Yeah. I
know?
think everyone has that kind of mentality with any community. You know, it's like when someone becomes a born again Christian, or if someone gets into psychedelics, or if someone gets into science, or if someone gets whatever community. It's always like you join something and it's like you want everyone else to join you. Maybe it's who knows, maybe it's an evolutionary thing of like you just want to have a community kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but I think everyone gets into it, man.
Yeah,
I think everyone has that attitude in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were times, like you said, like you were being a dick, or like you were trying to convince her and stuff, and like I was like that a lot. Like, even in my early YouTube videos, like there were a couple things that I said, I'm like, I look back now, I'm like, okay, let me just private that video. Like I grew up.
I had to do the same.
Yeah, like I grew up on YouTube, like talking. Most of the time I was just talking, and there were things that I would say, like, that I look back on now, I'm like, man, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have, you know. I just kind of, it's cool to see somebody else like making YouTube videos and then growing in the psychedelic realm as well. So that's really cool. I see a lot of, I learn a lot from you in that sense. So appreciate that. But so what was your very, very first psychedelic experience, and how did it happen?
Well, apart from weed, I guess, which you could argue it's a psychedelic, but I wouldn't say it's a classic psychedelic. But I was 21. I had my first mushroom experience. I didn't go into it thinking that it was going to be like this, I don't know, this spiritually profound trip that was going to change my life. It was just like, oh, okay, this is a new drug. Let's try this out. So I tried it with my buddy. We went, it was like around the corner from my house. We went to a quarry. There was like a lake. It was beautiful. And yeah, I think we had probably like 1 gram each. It wasn't even that much. And during the start of the trip, it was just like, you know, the colors started to become more vivid. Things started to distort a little bit. And I don't know, just it was hard to describe, but it was like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I can tell you I'm not feeling sober right now. Yeah, but it wasn't until we actually smoked weed, that's when it just amplified the thing by like, you know, 20. Yeah. And that's when shit kicked up in gears. Yeah. And I think the first thing that I remember was having this deja vu kind of feeling. Like, it was really bizarre. Like, I don't know. It's like, this is the first time I've had mushrooms, but it's like I've been in this realm before. It's hard to explain, but it kind of puts you back into that innocent, childlike state. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, you're looking at the trees and you're having this wonder again. And because like this was at the time where I didn't give a shit about nature, or I didn't have this wonder. I was just, you know, just an angry teenager smoking weed, drinking, and playing video games every day kind of thing. And this, I guess, opened up my eyes and made me more appreciative of life. And I don't want to like put too much weight on it, because I know a lot of people do that. Yeah. And it opened my eyes, but it didn't make me into a different person. It just helped me remember those old aspects of myself that I seem to have swept under the rug. So it was a very positive experience, but the second half of the trip, I have a trip report on it, but it went really dark really quick, because we drove to the quarry and it started to get nighttime. It was raining. We went in the car, and then we realized, like, fuck, we can't drive because we're both tripping on mushrooms. And then that just kind of spiraled into this terror and anxiety, like, fuck, we're stuck here. And then we started getting really paranoid because we're parked in front of all these houses, and they're like, oh no, they're going to call the cops. They're going to, you know, it's just completely irrational. Really, like, really, we could have just sat there, waited it out, and we would have been fine. But for whatever reason, we just started freaking out. And then, so he called one of our friends up. He picked us up. But it was really terrifying, because I went to like at that time in my life, it was the most scariest moment I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
I thought I ate poison and that meant I was gonna die, shit like that. It wasn't very extra. Like, I've had much more scary experience since. I should have probably learned from that, but it was fucking terrifying, man.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful and terrifying. It made me really respect psychedelics from the get-go. I'm like, okay, these things aren't to be fucked with. Me and my friend had that agreement, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm never going to trip again, but I'm like, I'm not doing this for a very, very long time. And I think it was probably a year or two since I tripped again.
Damn.
Well,
that's a good way to get into it. I mean, my first time was not, there was almost no bad to it. It was about the same amount of mushrooms, maybe a couple grams for me. Me and my friends went to a park down the street from my house, and it was just all fun. It was just happiness, and there was like no bad to it. Obviously, you know,
that's how it was at the start. But how old were you when you had your first mushroom trip?
I had to be probably like 20, 21, probably around the same time. Yeah, probably around the same time. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was definitely something that, you know, like the first time was fun, and then it grew and grew and grew, and then became obviously what it is now. But so like speaking about like fear and you know, bad trips, your Iboga trip, your existential crisis that you dealt with,
right?
How is that going now? Like, and how was it, or how's it going at this moment in life?
Well, I would say now I'm definitely mostly healed from it. Like, it just fucking destroyed me, basically. I was broken spiritually, emotionally, mentally, it's one of those experiences that completely fractured my sense of self and all my belief systems, all my core values, everything that I've been doing up until my life was like, what the fuck? It just,
yeah.
So I had to start from scratch and rebuild.
Yeah.
So now I've kind of built a new value system, and I'm a lot better now, for sure. Now am I still bummed about the human condition and where humanity is? Yeah, of course. So like those existential waves still come from time to time, like that despair and that fear of dying and things like that. But I don't know if you can completely get rid of it. It's kind of part of the human condition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like it might have actually helped you to deal with it, because I feel like that's kind of something that we all are going to deal with either way. Fear of death, fear of sadness, like just looking at things in a negative, you know, super depressed way. It's maybe dealing with that, you know, what is like a year and a half that you said you dealt with it, that might actually have helped you to grow and become stronger. It definitely seems that way, at least.
Definitely, yeah. It made me more grounded and made me appreciate this reality, because I always thought of this reality like, oh, it's all an illusion, doesn't matter, it's meaningless, blah 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 blah. But that was just my way of coping with the darkness of this reality, and I think a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's easy to say like, oh, this reality is an illusion, it doesn't matter. But then you go into the spiritual realms, and then no, that's reality. But it's like, it's very easy to fall into that trap, because there's a lot of darkness here. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of fucked up shit here. So if your ego can cling onto a new belief system and think that this doesn't matter, then it's going to go for it. But you're going to have to deal with your mortality. Yeah,
exactly.
Eventually. So it forced me into a rude awakening, because I was ignoring a lot of natural law. So yeah, man, I had to fucking deal with that shit. But it's definitely made me a lot more grounded, and like I said, more appreciative, and really realizing that this reality is the divine reality in a lot of ways.
Okay.
You know, it made me more in touch with my humanness, because there was a lot of parts that I was just ignoring. So yeah, it was really tough, for sure, dealing with that whole thing, and especially because I was dealing with a lot of, like, I was tapped into the collective suffering of humanity. And I know it sounds very arrogant to say like, oh, I experienced all the suffering of humanity, but it really did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt how, you know, a soldier in Africa who's addicted to crystal meth and has to fucking kill, or, you know, or like how someone who's about to commit suicide and who's psychotically depressed, like, I went to that mind, like all the most fucked up shit you can imagine. Like, I felt that, and it's heavy, man. And then it's like, so, and it was like that dilemma of like, okay, even if I end up having the best life ever, there's a lot of our brothers and sisters who are fucking suffering, like immensely. And So it increased my empathy to like 100, but it was too much at the start because, again, all my emotional walls were so cracked that even me going out into public, I could just feel everyone's shit. But now I can have those walls built up, so I can have compassion, but I can step away from it.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a state of despair and sadness and just completely broken, you're not going to be of any use to anybody.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's very true. Yeah, it's really cool to, like, inspiring almost to see somebody go through something like that and then obviously come out of it and, you know, move on and try to do better, you know, for the world and for themselves. And it was, you know, I had a few moments there where, like, in the past, I would say probably in the not recently, but maybe like 2-3 years ago, where I was dealing with, it wasn't necessarily due to, you know, psychedelic experiences or anything like that, but I was dealing with my own way of, you know, I was having my second daughter, and it was like life was just like boom, 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 boom. And I had moments where, you know, it was like very, very sad, depressing, and I, you know, part of me really did just want to, you know, give up and just not like deal with it in a sense. You know, you want to break, you just want to fold, you don't want to, you know, even think, you just want to curl up in a ball. And it took me my second daughter actually being born to really, you know, ground myself and start the process of growing and becoming, you know, I don't know, better and working every day to be better. So it's like, if not for my second daughter, if not for certain experiences and things that happened as my, you know, my wife was pregnant and a little bit of the time before, then I wonder, like, I don't know, I get freaked out where I don't know where I would be, like, cause you know, even speaking on drugs that aren't psychedelics, you know, I was never into meth or heroin, nothing like that, but I was around it. Like, I grew up in Southern California in the desert area, like in Barstow, Victorville, Mojave Desert area, which is flooded with crystal meth. So it was like always around in there, and things like that were always just kind of, I don't know, since I was young, I always kind of had that thought in my head, like, I'm either going to do good, I'm going to help the world, like I've always been that way, or I'm going to be a tweaker, and I'm gonna, like, that's just kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah. So you saw the darkness of what that path.
And it was like, and I'm happy to say now that I'm like, okay, now I don't have to. There's not just two roads. It's like I can create a new road and do whatever, you know, I want to be. I can be who I want. So it requires a lot of strength, and that's really cool to see. So without taking too much time, dude, I know we're already kind of getting there. Where do you see your channel going now? Because, or actually, let me ask you first. So I know you said that you've stopped taking psychedelics. And, you know, I've gotten close to making that same decision, even in recent months. But I've never felt like I wanted to complete, like, I feel like almost saying that I won't take them anymore is kind of putting myself almost in a box, and just not taking them is just making, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'm not putting it in the right words. Sometimes, like, I know what you mean. It's like it's like an egoic thing, like you just saying that I'm not going to trip anymore. That's like another identity. Yeah, that's like what I'm getting away from, kind of, in a sense. Yeah. You don't want to be in the box. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I'm not saying that I'm never going to trip ever again. It's probably unlikely, at least when it comes to heavy tripping. I mean, sure, maybe a microdose here and there, even though I haven't microdosed in years, but I'm open to that for sure. But in terms of the heavy, ego obliterating trips, I'm good. I don't need more epiphanies. I've gone so deep that it's like it's just unnecessary. You know what I mean? Like, everything that I've learned takes lifetimes to integrate. And I don't know, because with psychedelics, I got to be a little bit careful because they amplify your state of awareness, right? Yeah. Which is ego in a sense, if you really think of it. And that's not a bad thing. Like, people always think of ego as like this horrible, evil thing that needs to be killed. But the paradox of killing your ego is that it just comes back stronger. It's like you work out at the gym, right? You're literally tearing your muscle fibers, and then have to come back stronger, because it's like, all right, I got to get used to this heavy load. And that's what happens with spirituality and like these ego obliterating experiences. Like, your ego goes away for a while, or that's what you think. But then what's perceiving the no ego? It's an ego. It's a paradox. You're never going to get rid of it. So it's like you gotta
approach it in a way that like you got to have a healthy relationship with it, and you got to respect the ego, because if you don't respect the ego, it's just going to be like, well, fuck you, I'm just going to come back stronger and really fuck you up, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just very careful and aware of that, because I know that psychedelics just amplify your ego, and because the experience feels so real, it's very easy for the ego just to cling onto it. And this is why, and I guess this is my own fault for getting into psychedelics a little bit too prematurely, and not building my foundations first, you know, like building my, it's important to have healthy relationships and have your physical health in order, your mental health, learn about the nature of the ego, study on like the nature of reality, so that way you're more prepared for this experience. Otherwise, because if you're a deluded, ignorant person, then psychedelics are just going to make you more deluded and more ignorant. But you think that you're tapping into truth, so that's why it's a slippery slope.
It is.
But of course, if you're clear-minded and you know what the fuck, you know who you are, you're grounded, then psychedelics can amplify that. So
Absolutely.
that's why it's not good or bad. It just amplifies who you are in a lot of ways.
That's true.
It's like kind of like weed, you know what I mean? It's like it's not that weed necessarily makes you lazy, but if you're a lazy person, then it's probably going to amplify that part of you.
And lazy people tend to get drawn to weed.
Like me, like I'm naturally a lazy person, so weed made me fucking more lazy. You know, I was socially anxious and self-cautious, so it made me more socially anxious, made me more self-cautious in a lot of ways. So I had to work on those parts of myself. So now I can smoke weed. I'm not going to be that way anymore.
Exactly.
But all right, your question. Where am I going with my channel? Was that was your question?
Yeah,
Where am I?
That was the next one. Yes,
sir. I think the core of what I've been doing this whole time has always been about kind of personal growth and helping people with mental health and delving into spirituality. But more, I don't know. I enjoy talking about spirituality, but more of a practical, grounded approach to it. I think there's a lot of BS in the spiritual community, especially with like the new age movement, and focusing too much on the airy fairy positivity stuff, and that's fine. But if you ignore the shadow, if you ignore the dark parts of yourself, which is 50% of who you are, by the way, then it's just going to grow in the background without you even knowing. So I guess what I'm going to be focusing more on is, podcast. You know, I started a podcast just under a year ago, so I want to dive more into that and actually talk to people who know what the fuck they're talking about instead of just me. So get more into podcasting and delve deeper into what I've always been doing, but kind of less emphasis on psychedelics. Not saying that I'm never going to make videos on psychedelics again, but it's not. That was like part of my identity, I guess. So I had like this psychedelic spiritual ego, and it's like I'm the psychedelic guy kind of thing. So I went, I just went further into that, and that's how I got my, I got hyper slapped by the psychedelic gods, because I was like, I don't know. I almost got the message. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are? You don't know shit. You don't know shit.
I fucking feel you so much on that, dude. So much.
Yeah, and I got humbled, because it's like, the only reason my channel got popular is because of I just knew how to make entertaining videos that just so happened to be about psychedelics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not necessarily because I have an expertise on psychedelics. That's why when people like message me on like all these questions on psychedelics, I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. Like you probably know better. You know?
I hear you, dude.
It's
totally.
Like, they think I'm like a psychedelic expert because I have all these views and subscribers. It's like, dude, it's like Logan Paul has millions of views. It doesn't mean shit, you know?
I feel you. I'm so. That's funny that Logan Paul got brought up in this video.
I don't know why I brought it up.
No, that's funny. But dude, it's so crazy that you say that. Like, for the longest time, like I used to DJ, and I still do every once in a while. But my DJ name was Shaman, and I thought I was just this crazy, psychedelic guy. And then I had a couple trips where things went a little awry. And I got humbled, and again, touching on how you talked about how your channel grew because of psychedelics, it became what it was because of psychedelics, and now you're kind of wanting to move on, in some ways. I've actually been dealing with that a lot lately, and
Yeah.
and not necessarily do I want to move away from psychedelics, because I firmly believe in the positivity they can have, PTSD, so many different issues that can be, some
Oh yeah, for
eventually,
sure. I agree with
but,
that too, but it's dangerous when, I guess, the way I had it, like for example, recording my girlfriend tripping on mushrooms. It's like, okay, some people are going to be, have their mind opened, but then how many kids are going to see that and be like, oh, I want to do mushrooms now?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you got to think, for every person that you're helping, are you just
hurting more,
doing a disservice to
Yeah.
10 more people?
I
You know what I
feel
mean? That was my thing. So I started feeling a lot of remorse for what I was doing, and I'm like, yeah, I got a lot of praise, but then that's the thing, like, you always got to be grounded in who you are and detach yourself from other people's opinions, whether it's positive or negative. I should, because I got so much praise for the psychedelic videos, I'm like, oh, I should just do more of that. And then I started steering towards more of a psychedelic guy, when I was never really about that. You know what I mean? It was more the states that psychedelics put you in. I was more interested in that than the people put too much weight on psychedelics themselves, which I'm definitely guilty of.
Did you ever, I mean, actually it happened with your 1P-LSD video. I remember you said that it actually, like, you kind of did 1P-LSD to make a video, like, and you said you'll never do that again. I actually put that in one of my videos.
No, I'll never do it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, did you ever find yourself, like, in certain trips, literally thinking about the YouTube video and the trip story that you could tell later and stuff like that? Did your YouTube channel ever affect your trips and experiences?
Yeah, well, I remember that trip actually, because I was with Adam, and I was obviously tripping on acid, and then I saw the camera, and I remember looking at the camera and being like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we're just tripping in front of this audience, and I felt disgusted in myself. And I remember Adam he's like, okay, I'm going to put this camera in another room. I'm like, oh fuck it, just put me in this, it broke this spell. But that was a very real feeling from myself. I thought, okay, maybe I'm just being paranoid or whatever. But yeah, I felt, I don't know, I feel I've every time I've recorded myself tripping, I just feel gross. Like, if I'm being honest, it's a disgusted feeling in myself. Like, what the fuck?
I hear you.
Like, maybe it's different if you're doing it for like an authentic reason, and it just so happens to be recorded. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, let's say I want to do ayahuasca because I want to work on myself or whatever, and then I just so happen to record it. I think that's fine. Really, I really do think that's fine. But I think if your first intention is to record a video on YouTube, and then the second part is, okay, and I want to trip and do this, then absolutely, that's when it starts to go into a slippery slope. Like, for example, I had a San Pedro trip in Peru, and this was very genuine reasons why I wanted to do it. I had personal stuff that I wanted to work through, and I just so happened to record it. I've still got all those recordings. I never made that documentary, actually. But I think in that context, it's better, because my original intent was, no, I want to actually do this because I want to work my shit. And you know what? I might as well just record this because it's educational. Yeah, that's fine. Like, so I'm not saying that recording yourself tripping is wrong 100%. It's not as black and white as that. It comes from your original intent. But like you're saying, how psychedelics can help, are very profound in helping people with mental health issues if done in the right context, which I would argue most people don't do it in that context.
Absolutely.
But this is why I think people like Rick Doblin, Jim Fadiman, and all these guys doing the work and having the research and going through the system and doing it legal. I think those are the superheroes. Those are the people actually making a real fucking difference in a positive way. In my opinion. Versus like, okay, I recorded my girlfriend tripping on mushrooms. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
I feel you, dude. It's funny. It's not funny. It's crazy to think, because I'm a super advocate. I was actually working to try to do the psilocybin legalization initiative here in California, which didn't pass, unfortunately.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass. No, it got turned down recently. Well, it didn't. It wasn't actually even voted on. It didn't even pass to be voted on. It didn't. I don't think they got enough signatures. I'm not too sure exactly what happened, but they are still going in Colorado or Denver. I'm sorry. So we'll see.
I hope.
We'll see. I don't even know if I hope, dude. Honestly,
I hope it pulls through.
A part of me, being involved in it and look, looking more into it. Part of me wondered if full legalization is the right way to go. You know what I mean? Definitely, there's going to be positives to it, but a part of me feels like we really don't understand it yet. We don't know the right ways to distribute psilocybin to the right people the right way. Maybe we need a little bit more time to figure it out. And anytime I brought that up to people, they kind of hit me with like, well, it's going to do good no matter what. And that's definitely true. There's not going to be people, I don't know really how to explain it. I just feel like we really are at a point where we need to learn a little bit more and figure out like what it is that these things can do. Because psilocybin, MDMA, even cannabis, like it all has positive aspects to it. Do we really know how to use it now? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, because they're incredibly profound, and like people always bring them back to like, oh, we've been using them for thousands of years, and people in this tribe, and blah 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 blah. But it's like that's a different context. They were in tune with nature. They didn't deal with social media, and they didn't have Kim Kardashian and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Because you got to think of, it's not that I do believe in the positive effects of psychedelics, and I'm very much an advocate of that. But I do think that most humans are fucking morons that aren't ready to handle that kind of shit. And people can be like, who the fuck are you to think it's like, if I wasn't ready, right, for that kind of shit, there are people a lot more stupider than me. You know what I mean? So
a lot
it's
more
like,
stupider.
yeah, a lot more. There we go. Great grab there. Yeah.
No, I hear you.
But I don't know. I think it's going to be positive and negative, like anything in life. I think, I don't know how it's going to turn out, man. I'm do I believe in full? Wait, when they say full legalization, does that mean it's just going to be sold in like any street, or do you have to go through some kind of?
There was nothing on. There was like no information on that, and I would ask the people who were involved in it, and I would be like, so what does it technically mean? And they would kind of like dance around the topic. So it kind of made me feel a little uneasy about the whole situation. And towards the end of, not towards the end, but towards the later parts of actually working with them, it kind of made me feel really uneasy about it, because I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. Like I struggled with it a little bit, like, promoting this, actually getting signatures like I was or whatever. Part of me was like, man, because I don't know, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not the right way. Maybe full legalization isn't the right way. Maybe it needs to be medical first, like cannabis was, or maybe, stuff like that.
I can see, like, because one of the most destructive things about prohibition is that you don't know exactly what you're getting. Like, let's say MDMA, speed, meth, or whatever it is. It's like when you get street MDMA, you don't exactly know if it's going to be pure, if it's going to be this, if it's going to be that. But in the case of mushrooms, it's like they grow everywhere. So even if they're illegal or illegal, you're getting the fucking real shit.
True.
Not saying that I don't believe it should stay illegal. I think that's fucked up, especially when you make nature illegal.
True.
And then you throw people in cages for that.
Yeah, that's
either way, it's fucked up, but it's illegal. But yeah, in terms of legalization, see, I don't know. I'm not qualified to really speak about this. I don't know.
And
I think it's going to be like, if it becomes legalized, I think it's going to be a very positive thing. Yeah. But there's also going to be a dark side to that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? As well. And like anything.
I feel like you said, like I'm not the person to do it. I'm not qualified for it. And in the entire time when I was working with them, I felt like in the beginning, at least, that the people who I was working with and who were actually handling it were the people who were qualified. But the more I got to know them, and I'm not really trying to talk, bad about them, but the more I got to know them, it didn't really feel like they were too qualified. And they were kind of doing it more for like, just to be the first person who does it, I don't know. There was a lot of negatives in necessarily in like that whole situation, at least the people, and I kind of started to realize that. But I'm definitely shrooms is a. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. No, it's like you're saying, like we don't really understand. We don't even understand the nature of consciousness, and we know even less about psychedelics. Exactly. You know what I mean? We don't know. They're incomprehensibly strange. They are fucking dead. We have no fucking idea what they are. We really don't know, like, at all.
And like, I think weed, I agree, should be legalized.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, there's much less risks to end. Like, for example, in Australia, our weed is terrible. It is fucking horrible, and I'm jealous that you live in California, because that's one of the reasons why I even want to move there, just so you know what you're getting. Because here there's a lot of dealers that actually spray it with chemicals because it makes it way more. And the vast majority of the strains here are indica as well.
Okay.
I'm speaking for at least Melbourne anyway.
Okay.
I'm sure in northern Australia, Queensland, it's mostly like bush weed, which is good. But here it's like it's mostly indica, it's mostly sprayed. It just doesn't feel good. Like at least if it was legalized, you know what you're getting. And the thing is, like with weed in particular, I think it should be legalized versus just medically legalized, because if it's medically legalized, you still have to go through the system. You still have to get the weed from what big pharma has.
Yep.
And things like that. I think Uruguay has the fucking best policy on weed. They didn't, they had this motto of like don't legalize, regulate. Even just using the word regulate brings people more on board. And in that you can have up to like, I don't remember the exact number, so don't quote me on this, but I think you can have like 6 plants and grow it yourself in your house.
Okay.
You can grow whatever the fuck. So it is completely legalized, but they don't use the word legalized because a lot of conservatives, they associate that word with like, oh, I just fucking stone a hippie motherfucker. But if you use regulate, so technically it is legalized, but they just changed the wording. So I thought it was really smart. That's why it
makes sense,
So maybe they should, maybe other countries should follow suit, because I think they're doing it the best.
That makes sense. I'm gonna look into
from
that,
any country I've seen. Yeah,
Wow.
look into it, and they're fucking
awesome.
incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Have you been?
Just the word switch, gets the old people on board. Like,
regulate.
Yeah,
we're gonna take care.
Not legalized.
That makes so much sense.
Exactly.
Have you been to California and smoked some? Weed?
No. I've smoked Canadian weed.
Same. There you go.
When I collabed with Adam from BC. Apparently they have really, I remember the first strain I had was like Rockstar Master Kush, and it was just too much. I smoked it as if it was just normal weed. It's just my mistake. I was like, just whatever. It was too much. I'm like, me and my girlfriend have always wanted to travel through the States, and California's always been calling to me.
Absolutely.
So for 100%, one day I definitely will go over there.
Well, let me know, man. When you come through, I'll show you all the good stuff. But yeah, dude, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We've been going for like 42 minutes now, but I do appreciate you, bro.
That's all good. I got some time, so
my
day's just.
Oh yeah, it's morning time for you, huh?
It is.
Dude, it was so complicated to try to figure out the timing. Like I was like sitting there, like I didn't think it was gonna be that complicated. Like,
it's weird. Australian timing, man. We we don't have good.
So
our time zone is just completely different to everywhere else in the world.
So I got one very important question to ask to end this.
All right.
It's a common thing that I've heard growing up, but in Australia, when you flush the toilet, does the water go the opposite way?
No.
Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I saw the Simpsons episode, and the first thing I flushed my toilet, and it's like it doesn't even it doesn't even do that. It just.
Well, dude, it is so nice to finally talk to you and meet you. Like, I just so much props to you, and I appreciate everything you do on your channel.
Likewise.
So appreciate you. Let me know next time you're in California, bud. Holler.
Definitely.
All right, bro. I'll be in touch.